Hello and welcome to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors, PrecisionHydration.com.
Precision Hydration offer electrolyte drinks in different strengths to match how you sweat. Personalise your hydration strategy today at precisionhydration.com and get a free box or tube of pH worth up to $9.99 using the code Oxygenaddict.
We're also brought to you by Tribe.
Natural sports nutrition delivered direct to you. You can get a trial pack of 6 delicious energy bars, protein bars and protein shakes for just £1, including postage and packaging. Head to wearetribe.co/oxygenaddict and use the code TRIBEOxygenAddict.
And lastly, we're brought to you by Thriver.co.
Taking health tracking to a new level with your personalised at-home finger prick blood test. Catch any small health issues before they become big health issues. You can get £25 off your first test with the code Oxygenaddict25.
All right, and that's got us through the sponsor segments, and we are here and into the show. It's a beautiful morning here in the UK, and I believe someone on the show has got sore legs this morning, and it's not me, Helen Murray.
Of course. Sore knees, sore back, sore toes, definitely sore toes. I was just doing the delightful thing of ripping off the blister plasters, Rob, before we hit record. Isn't that nice?
Nice.
Yeah, generally just a little bit aching.
On the back of, what was it you did yesterday?
London Marathon. I kept it quiet,
Marathon.
Rob.
You did. You were well on the down low, weren't you?
I was absolutely. I didn't mention it to you. I didn't mention it. I didn't really tell.
Do you know? I'm so glad you said that, because in the pre-show thing, I asked about Hels's husband, who I knew was racing it, and then she said, "Yeah," and I went okay as well. And I was like, "Oh my god, have I forgotten Hels racing?" So you didn't tell me, did you?
No, honestly, I didn't even tell you.
I thought I was losing my mind.
No, I didn't tell you. I
Come on, tell us all about it then. So you're at the London Marathon. You're on the No One Knows I'm Here, I'm a Secret Squirrel. How was the experience?
So I decided to enter it it was like November, I think, because I still had my championship slot from when I pranced around like a happy, I don't even know what, a very happy runner 2 years ago. And somehow, I honestly don't even know how I did it. Did 3:13.
Well, you were in amazing shape, weren't you? That year you absolutely blitzed it.
I don't even know how.
I'm telling you now, to put that in context for the male listeners, that's 33 minutes inside Helen's good for age, to put it in context. So for the males listening who don't sort of know what the female good for ages are, that's the equivalent of going 3:30 for an under 40 male. So 2:30 for an under 40 male. So an amazingly fast run.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
So
don't talk yourself down, Hels. You're amazing.
No, so decided so late on in the year, because I knew that Rich was doing it. I was like, well, he's going to be training. I fancy a goal. Oh, I'll have a look. Yeah, okay, it's still valid. Right, I'm just going to enter.
Yeah.
So entered it, and I, I was a little bit broken after Ironman Wales, so really took a step back from a lot of things, and I didn't do a whole load of running. I didn't really have any goals last year, and so we were working with really having lost a lot of run fitness, and I still had boring Achilles niggles going on when I was I'm going to sign up, and I spent probably 2 weeks solid on the cross trainer in February. So and it was just really kind of careful, let's build me up but steadily and healthily, and so yesterday I was there with these bloody pink stripes on, and if you get a championship start, you have to wear your number on the front and back, so you really are like a target.
Oh wow.
And you have these stupid pink stripes across your number, so it's quite obvious. You have to wear two timing chips.
Okay.
When you go into the championship start area of the marathon itself, there's a separate area. They obviously look for the pink stripes on your number, then they're you can come in. So they have your own portaloos, they have tents there where you can basically sit, they have water, Lucozade and stuff. You don't have to put your bag on the truck until really the last moment. And then you line up right behind the elite men.
Oh, yeah, you literally, and then that's worth saying for people who haven't done it, have they? They walk out the elite men, and then they walk out the champion starters, and you can reach out and touch the back of, Mo Farah's shirt. Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Did you see any of were you close enough up to?
No, I went right at the back because I was like, I don't really think I'm not going to be.
You don't want to get in anyone's way.
No, so I went right to the back, and then where I was there were a few other people I think in a similar position, and they were like, I'm really scared that the really fast sub-3 men who are not in this championship start are just gonna sort of like crush us on their way through. So I kind of went to the side a little bit. But no, it was, I don't know, I really didn't feel like I belonged in that tent with all these racing snake runners around me. But I felt really privileged to be there. So I went out at 3:15 pace. So in my head, I thought, if I have a good day, I'll go sub 3:30. If I have a really, really good day, I'll get near 3:15. I went out at 3:15 pace because I thought, well, I can't not, like, I've got to try. By mile 7 or 8, I was like, nah, that ain't going to be happening at all.
Yeah.
So I then thought, sugar, it's a long way. Oh no, it's going to be a long way. But I just thought, right, I'm going to slow it down a bit and just think back to 2 years ago. What did you love most about it? The crowds. Okay, just play off the crowds and just get there. I stopped for the toilet 3 times. That wasn't fun.
Oh, really?
No, but it wasn't even, I didn't have the shits. It was more, the first time I did need a wee. And the second 2 times, I really felt like I needed a wee. And then when I went in, I couldn't go. So that was annoying. Yeah, that was really annoying. But yeah, the crowd definitely got me to the finish yesterday. And I did have to put on a little bit of a, I say sprint
for the finish.
Clearly it wasn't a sprint, was it? But no, I saw it tick over 3:30, and I was like, oh my god! And I know I started near the front. Come on! So I think 7 seconds under 3:30 I did. Woo!
Awesome.
So yeah.
It's a long way down that home straight with the clock ticking in front of you, isn't it? It doesn't look far on the telly, but when you'd like chasing, I remember when I did it and was hanging on desperately trying to get under 3 hours, and I came into the finishing straight with, it was like 2:55 or something as I came in, and I was like, oh, I'm sure I can get there. Can I? How far is it? I've got, like, you're a bit delirious. Is it a mile? Is it 200 meters? I've got no idea. Keep on going. I'm going to make it. I'm not going to make it.
No. Did you make it?
Yeah, I was a couple of minutes under in the end. I was 2:58 when I crossed the line.
Yes, Rob.
Yeah. Having faded horribly over the back half though, and literally run most of the last 6 or 8 miles with my eyes closed for every 10 steps, scrunching my face and then opening my eyes to see where I was going. Then, and okay, nothing in front of me. Close your eyes again.
Yeah, I did get to that place where I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna have to, like, the last, I'd say at mile 20, I consciously thought, right, come on, this is 10k now.
Yeah.
Come on, you can do this. Trying to do the maths in my head, thinking, come on, that is like maximum, like 50 minutes, an hour of running. Come on, stick with it. And then like the last 4 miles just went on forever. Yeah. But
that stretch between 22 and 24 or 25 before you turn the Houses of Parliament is endless, totally. Isn't it? Down the embankment.
Oh, and then it was, and then the 800 meters to go sign, I thought back to track, and I was like, come on, that's like, that'd be like 3 minutes when you're running track.
Yeah. It's evidence really of Einstein's, Einstein's time dilation idea. I think it extends to running and triathlon in general. Like when you're in pain, time seems to go by much, much more slowly. And when you're loving it, it goes by much more quickly. Honestly, crazy. Hey, well, well done. Going under 3:30 is great when you didn't consider yourself to be in great shape and you kept it on the down low. So that's amazing. And is that still like 15 minutes inside good for age? Am I right in remembering?
I think, well, yeah.
3:45.
I mean, it was 3:45. So
another 2 years.
Well, yeah, there you go.
We can look forward to
Yeah.
an update again in 2 years' time as Helen goes secret squirrel into the London
Yeah.
Marathon.
No, you know what? Shall I tell you why though? I just didn't want any, and clearly no one would really care, but I didn't want any extra. It sounds stupid. I just didn't want any extra pressure. It was like I just want all the pressure on myself.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Sounds
Totally
so
understand.
stupid.
No, not at all. I think there's lots of people who, especially when you've been at the point where you've been really, really fit and then you don't consider yourself to be as fit, there's a sense sometimes that people have an expectation you'll do X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
And sometimes that expectation could be enough to stop people. I mean, I've known of people who've just have gone to races and then decided not to race because at the last minute they've thought, I'm just not in good shape. You know, I'm going to embarrass myself or whatever. You know, there's this perception that other people are going to think something. So no, I totally get that. And if anyone out there's listening and thinking that, don't be a silly sausage. Get yourself in the event. We're all too selfish to care what anyone else does. Get out and have fun.
There you go. That is it. And it did go through my mind when I thought, 3:15 is really not on. I thought I could just wait. I could just wait for Rich. I mean, God, that'd be amazing. Oh, imagine that. Like, yeah, I could run him. Yeah, we could run the second half together.
Plays tricks on you, doesn't it? Yeah.
Did I do that? No, bitch.
No. It would have been a long wait, though. You'd have been like, it wouldn't have felt long to wait for a minute or two, but waiting for however long it would have been a long wait. It
would have been a long wait. But yeah, Rich was amazing. He finished in under 4:30 and then...
Jolly good.
Yeah. Massive. I know there are a few more results which we might actually mention from the marathon at the very end of today's show. Yeah, cool. Should we crack on with other results, Rob?
So let's jump into results then, sponsored by it's not a new sponsor, but they're back with us this week, Thriver.co. So Thriver do at-home blood testing, which I think they're blooming brilliant. I've just redone this morning another set of tests, so we can talk about those next week on the show. They've kind of slightly changed what they do a bit, Hells, but the headline figure is, if you want to have blood tests done, usually you've got to go to the doctors. You've got to convince your GP that they should do some blood tests on you anyway. And I found they were quite reticent to do that. My GP said to me once, well, I think it's ridiculous that you want to have blood tests done. I think you should just stop running marathons. I had one of those like really slow, overweight, arrogant GPs who I changed just shortly after this conversation. I was like, but I know something's not right. I can feel I'm just really exhausted all the time. And like he wouldn't do blood tests on me, which I think would really have helped me back in the day. So now you can do it at home. Thriver sends you out this natty little kit, comes in through the post. You put your hand in hot water for a few minutes and then you use like a little stamper thing on your finger and you squeeze a few drops of blood out. Now, I just did it this morning and it honestly took me 8 minutes from opening the packet to having the thing ready to go in the post, including the 3 minutes I had my hand in hot water. So 10 drops of blood into one little tube. I was doing one of the advanced tests, so another 8 drops of blood into the other tube. That was over in a few minutes. Then you send it away and they've got I think the results come through within 24 to 36 hours on an online portal you can look at. So it shows you what your results are for things like vitamin levels, B12, red blood cell count, testosterone, liver function, cholesterol, all manner of everything you can imagine that you'd want testing. And it shows you like zones and colors on the screen. So here's your result. You're in the middle of the green area. Everything's good, or something's not quite right. It's in the orange area, or even if things are way off, this is in the red. And you get advice and a write-up from a British GP telling you what the results mean as well. So it's super efficient and modern for today's world. So you can get £25 off your first test with the code Oxygenaddict25 over at Thriver.co. Go and check it out. All right, so big race from this weekend. First big race was Ironman Texas, which I've got to say, I thought that the footage was really good on Ironman Live. I sat on Saturday afternoon as I was doing a bit of work and watched it going on in the background. And some good racing went on there, Hells. I was watching Patrick Nielsen hunt down Andy Starkowitz on the run. Yeah, Nielsen had an amazing run. He looked, as well as having a man bun, so respect for that. I think he's the only man bun in triathlon at the moment. But he looked super, super smooth and fluid. He was running like 2:36, 2:37 pace for a lot of it. And he faded a bit over the last couple of miles, but he still ran like a 2:42, I think. So an amazing performance from him, considering he kind of rode on his own in no man's land. Starkey went off the front, did a ridiculously fast time on a day when everyone else was a lot slower than last year. So to put it in context, he rode a 4:02. The legit course record is 4:01. So he had a really fast ride, and a lot of other people were 15 to 20 minutes down on the previous bike time. So I think we've got to give props to Starkey for an amazing bike ride. And Nielsen kind of rode in no man's land, rode with him for the first half and then sort of on his own for the second half. And it really paid off for him. He kind of ran into the lead at the 10-mile point, looked super smooth and looked a bit wobbly in the last mile. God bless him. It's good to see him having a lie down. Line. He just about made it to the finish line. He got lost about half a mile from the finish, made a wrong turn. And everyone was like, oh, he doesn't look good. Low blood sugar. But he got back on track and he had a big margin of victory by that point. So that was good. And then Starkey got overtaken for second by David Pliš of Croatia. And Joe Skipper was hunting him down. Skipper ran 2:42. Yeah, so I think Starkey ran a 3:03. So he didn't have a bad marathon. He ran about what he always runs after a ridiculously fast bike ride. But Skipper got down to, I think he was within a minute at the finish. And there were people on the IM Live coverage Facebook thing going, Skipper's only 10 seconds down. And I was looking at the splits going, well, it says he's a minute. Are you sure? And I was kind of thinking there might be one of those desperate finishes at Roth like he did a couple of years ago, but he didn't quite get there for the podium. But he did stamp his Kona ticket. He got one of the slots for Kona, which was great.
Which is, fantastic. And the other name that we should mention on that results list as well. So Patrick Nielsen got the win. David Pliš of Slovenia.
Slovenia, not Croatia. My mistake. Sorry.
That's okay. And Starkey 1, 2, 3. Skipper in fourth. And then Sam Proctor, who you're going to hear more from later on in the show, doing his first Ironman, finished in 8th in 8:14, which is fantastic.
That is. And let's give the splits up. 52-minute swim, so decent swim compared to the front pack at 49. 4:26 on the bike, so 5 minutes down on the likes of Matt Hansen and Skipper. So an amazing bike run. And then he closes it out with a 2:50 on the run. That is a seriously legit Ironman debut, isn't it? To take
very much
8th
so.
At the stacked field, North American Championships. Really super impressive result from him.
Yep. The women's race was really exciting because we were talking last week about, it'll be Daniela Reeve. She's going to go and absolutely smash it.
Yeah, is she going to get in the men's top 3 kind of thing we were saying, weren't we?
Yeah, but Jocelyn McCauley, who we had on the show recently, she tried to put a real spanner in that works. And
she took it to her, no question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And she was in the lead for quite a lot of it, but faded a little bit on the run, didn't she?
Yeah, she was running really strong to about, I think she put about, they pretty much left transition together and she put about 2.5 minutes at one point into Daniela Reeve. And Reeve didn't look good in the first half of the marathon. Her stride was all, there was something not right. She looked like she was hurting and the commentators were, talking about it. Oh, it doesn't look good. And then about the halfway point, she started to come good. And Jocelyn McCullough looked super strong the whole way through. Daniela Reeve ran up to her at about the 22-mile point, so quite late on.
Yep.
And she just put the afterburners on. She put like 100 meters into Jocelyn over 200 meters. She went by her like she put a surgeon in a running race. And it was a really impressive, closing last 4 or 5 miles from her. But Jocelyn McCauley looked super strong the whole way through and fair play to her. She only races one way. She tries to give everything she's got. And if people haven't heard that interview, actually, it's about 2 months ago, isn't it, to go back in our archives and listen to that. She talks a lot about how she just gives everything that she's got in every race. So well worth going back and listening to that one.
An interesting comment. Even Brett Sutton, who coaches Daniela Reeve, said, congratulations for getting the job done and validated for Kona. Had no right to win here after a brilliant performance by McCauley, but champions sometimes forget how to lose.
Nice.
Interesting.
Nice little props from him there.
Yeah, and Kimberly Morrison came off the bike in the leading the whole thing. And she finished in 5th with 9:03. She did a 3:23 run, so she is she had by far the fastest bike split by about
she
4
broke
minutes.
she broke the course record on the bike, or broke the legit course record anyway. Is what they're classing it as. And she looked pretty strong actually out of transition, and then within a few miles just looked like all of a sudden it just looked like the refrigerator was on her back. So bless her, she put an amazing bike split out, but it'll come together for her. It'll get easier and easier, and she really went for it.
But I think it is all coming together. And she said that, when she's ready to go to Kona, when she's ready for that, she'll be there. So yes, she has made massive progress, and it's coming together. So keep up the good work.
Yeah, we've got to remember, you've ridden up to Daniela Reef and Jocelyn McCauley. You're in good company at the end of the bike ride there. And those two are not hanging around on the bike either. So she's really, really going to be one to watch when she puts the final pieces of that run together. Yep. All right, let's quickly cover over the results of ITU Bermuda, which went on this weekend.
Yeah, so it was the second of the WTS series this season, and Javier Gomez was back in action. He didn't quite manage to get the win in the men's race. He came second. Dorian Connix of France got the win, his first WTS win. And last year it was the Norwegians, wasn't it, who surprised everyone. So Gustav Eden finished third this year. Christian Blumenfeld fifth. Johnny Brownlee was down in 11th.
Yeah, faded a bit on the run, didn't he?
Yeah. In the women's race, Katie Zaferes, Jess Learmonth and Vicky Holland and a Dutch athlete as well sort of broke away and were riding together for a little bit of the bike, and then that pack split. Zaferes put together obviously a brilliant run, but Jess Learmonth hung on for second in 2:01, and then Joanna Brown of Canada came through in third. Georgia Taylor Brown, go back and listen to her interview, hilarious, she's great fun. She came fifth. And Non Stanford, I think, posted the fastest run of the day.
Yeah, heads up to Georgia Taylor Brown as well, running 34:51 to come from behind to run herself up into fifth. I mean, that compares with, 34:46 for Katie Zaferes and 34:37 for Joanna Brown. So, as we said after that interview, her run is a significant strength, and it'll come together for her on the day when she gets in the bike pack, and watch out.
Yeah, massively.
Watch out. Okay. And next up then, 70.3 Marbella. So what happened with Ali Brownlee's helmet? And he had a big lead coming out of the water, and then could he not get his helmet on or something?
No, I think there was an issue with his helmet, and he had to wait and get that sorted, obviously, until he could carry on.
Yeah.
So total nightmare, really not what you're after, is it?
No, absolute disaster there, isn't it, really?
But then to carry on, and he said, an annoying mechanical issue cost me time at the start of the bike, but quite enjoyed the chase when I got going again. And he ran a 1:11 to come second. But at one point, I think he was like 10 minutes down?
10 or 12 minutes down off the bike, yeah. So good for him for drilling it in. So we've got a win there for Andreas Dreitz in 3:56, Ali Brownlee second, and Domenico Passuello in third. Over in the women's race, we had a win for Laura Philipp of Germany, with Nina Deron and Marta Bernardi in third. Okay, folks, and then last little bit of results from this week. First race for Nikki Bartlett, guiding Alison Peasgood at the Para-Tri World Cup.
Yep, and they won it. They absolutely smashed it, which is awesome. She said, couldn't have asked for a better way to start the triathlon season. Top spot at today's Milan event. We are pretty chuffed, and yeah, the smiles are rather evident there. So yeah, great work from them. So what was I going to say? Yeah, Hannah Moore as well won the PTS4. So cracking job all round there for the Milan World Para Triathlon Series.
Great stuff. All right then. So moving forward to Coach's Couch, sponsored by Team Oxygenaddict Triathlon Coaching. We've got a question that's come in via Twitter, haven't we? Yep.
So DJC, or is at Khaled DJ1 on Twitter, said my FTP on my tri bike is 250 watts sitting up on the bike, but last week did an FTP test down on the tri bars and it was 200 watts. What's going on?
Well, that is a big difference, actually. So first up, I'm going to say, like, don't worry, there's ways to sort this out. But also, don't worry, it's not unusual to put out less power in the aero position than it is when you're sitting up on the bike. Now, it's usually in a range of 5 to 10% in most athletes, and it'll come down the more you train in the aero position. So your number being sort of 20% lower is, it's a significant difference. Excuse me. So I'm guessing what's probably happened is you've trained sitting up all winter. Now you're trying to get used to the race season and you're going into the aero position. In simple terms, number one, you need to train in the position you want to race in because you're going to be recruiting different muscles. So your body's used to riding in one position. In your case, you're moving from the aero position to sitting up on the same bike. That opening of the hip angle at the moment means you're recruiting different muscles. You can push harder, so you can put more power out. As you train in that new position, your body will get more efficient and you'll produce more power in the aero position. A couple of quick heads up that I thought about. I had this come up in the team this week with a guy that I coach. So a few things to look out for. First up, make sure you've calibrated your power meter. It just means you zero it before you start because a power meter is just like a force measurement system. If it's not zeroed before you start, it's like putting something on the scales and maybe it's not going to weigh accurately. So exactly the same with your power meter. Zero it or calibrate it, whatever it's called with your power meter, before every time you use it. The next thing is just check. This is a simple thing, but people sometimes overlook it. Are you using the same power meter for both tests? So sometimes people might be on like a smart trainer indoors and then using a pair of Garmin Vector pedals outdoors. The two power numbers are not going to be directly comparable. In a perfect world, they would be, but they're not. No two power meters measure the same. So I had an issue with a guy who was riding indoors on a smart trainer, riding outdoors on Garmin Vectors, and the power numbers were massively different. And that just skews the results you get when you're riding outdoors because it makes you think either I'm going far too hard or I'm super fit. So make sure you use the same power meter for each test. I think in the case of DJC, that is the case, obviously. And then if you are going to do some outdoor testing, test on the same course to compare results. So one that mimics your race course. Most people are able to put out more power riding up a hill than they are along the flat. So I advise all my athletes, look, you do all your winter training indoors, mostly in this country anyway. As you go outside, you need to do an outside test to establish your outdoor numbers. They might be the same, they might be massively different. But also the terrain affects that. So it's not unusual to be able to put out, say, 10% more power if you do a test going up a big hill. So that test isn't really valid if you're then going to do time trials along a flat road. So test on the same sort of terrain that you're going to be racing on. Ideally test on a flat road because it's just going to inflate your ego if you're doing your testing on hills. Next up, although you definitely see different results on those hills, just remember it doesn't mean that you have to work on a different set of power numbers when you're riding on the hills in a race. So what I like to think of this is if you've done your test on the flat and then you race on the hills, it's tempting to think, well, I know I can put more power out going uphill, so I'll let myself ride above 100% on the hills or whatever. Think of it as giving a cap to hold yourself to, and it's an extra safety net. So don't sort of think, my FTP's 300 on the flat, I can probably push 330 going uphill. Don't do that. Stick to the same set of numbers on the hills because it gives you that extra bit of safety net. And basically, don't worry if your power number is lower in your aero position, because even if you're putting out less power, you'll still be faster riding in your aero position than you would sitting up. Because going back to his original question, it's tempting to think, well, I put more power out sitting up, so I won't be in the aero bars as much when I race in my aero position because I'm putting out less power. You'll still be much, much faster putting out 200 watts in your aero position than you would putting out 250 sitting up just because of the wind resistance. So it's a great question, this. It's a really common theme that, it's come up a lot in Team Oxygenaddict athletes recently as people are moving from their sort of winter block of indoor FTP and now they're getting ready to race. And I say, get yourself outdoors, do another FTP test outdoors now. And it's not to compare to the results you had over the winter where we're trying to compare all the variables. This is just to see what your body does outdoors. So it doesn't matter if the number's lower when you're riding on your local roads, as long as you then have a number to set your effort to that you can hold. Because let's say you can put 300 out indoors and it turns out to be 270 outdoors. It's tempting to go, I'm not putting the same power out. You've just got to make sure that those numbers are accurate. So we've got loads of athletes at the moment who are moving forwards to racing. It's like the first real races of the season for us, coming up at 70.3 Mallorca, the Outlaw Half, Pontevedra, Ironman Lanzarote. So it's really exciting to see people, you know, sometimes they just go, great, I can put the same power out outdoors. Sometimes they're kind of going, well, I'm a bit disappointed that my power's less outdoors, but that doesn't really matter as long as they've got those accurate numbers. That then there's no point in having a power meter if you're not actually accurately going to use it to help control you on race day, essentially.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So listen, just before we finish, Hels, we've got a crazy offer for people in May with Team Oxygenaddict. I've scratched my head the other day and thinking, like, May's always like a period of time I've assumed people maybe not looking to get coaching. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, here comes the race season. And then we said those few slots came up a couple of weeks ago, and we had loads of people snap them up, and I was like, oh, maybe my assumption's wrong. Maybe people do need coaching. Maybe they need it even more going into the race season. So we've opened up 5 more slots for May. And what we're going to say is we're going to do a special offer. If you join as an annual member, we're going to extend your membership to September 2020 for the price of an annual membership. So effectively, you get 2 race seasons for the price of 1, which I think is a pretty cool deal, really. So if you join at the start of May, it's actually 5 months extra free coaching for the price of 1. So go to the website, teamoxygenaddict.com, to check out the details. We've got those 5 slots available. If you're the kind of person who's going, actually, do you know what? I need some coaching now. Help me out. Come and join us.
Awesome. So, Rob, let's move on to this week's interview of the week, which is sponsored by Tribe.
It is indeed. So we've got some delicious Tribe energy bars sitting here in the house, haven't we, Hels? I have been chomping away this week on their Infinity energy bar. I've had the peanut butter and banana version this week, which wasn't sure about before I tasted it, but I've got to say I was pretty impressed.
Delicious and nutritious.
Delicious and nutritious. So remember, Tribe make it's all good, it's all vegan, it's all natural. Obviously, it's in a nice little packet that fits in your pocket for riding or running, which is great as well. And they are a cool organisation that gives some of their money from the sales to charity, to the Tribe Freedom Foundation, which they're putting money basically forward to help end human trafficking. So you're not just getting excellent nutrition from your bars, they're also really cool people helping people out as well. Actually, Hels, one of the guys I coach, Tom, is going to do a run for these guys next year. He's raising money for the Tribe Foundation. Get this, he's to highlight the sort of the plight of migrants who land on a Greek island and then kind of make their way through Europe. He's going to run from Greece all the way back to the UK. Can you believe that?
That's a long old way. I'm
going to get him on the show at some point and do a little interview with him and talk about that run, because it's like 3 months worth of running a marathon plus a day to get back here. I can't remember the distance. Something mental, like 2,000 miles or something.
Yeah, that'll be a long way.
So wow, we'll get him on. So anyway, last thing for Tribe, you can get yourself a test set, 6 delicious energy bars and protein shakes for £1, including postage and packaging. We are tribe.co, isn't it? /Oxygenaddict, and use the code TRIBEOxygenaddict. Right, Hels, tell me about our interview of the week this week, please.
So we mentioned Sam Proctor, who finished 8th on his debut at Ironman Texas. He also won Holcomb, so Outlaw Half Holcomb last year. He finished 3rd at Weymouth 70.3 last year. You might think that you've kind of heard of him, and then there's this other guy called Sam Pictor, and you're like, whoa, which one's which? Sam Pictor, Sam Proctor. Pictor was 5th this weekend at Challenge Gran Canaria. He won Outlaw Half Nottingham last year and was 2nd at 70.3 Weymouth. So to try to get rid of any of this crazy confusion, I figured I'd get them both on together. So here you go. Here is this week's interview of the week.
Hi, I'm Sam Pictor.
Hi, I'm Sam Proctor.
And you're listening to the Oxygenaddict Podcast.
And you're listening to the Oxygenaddict Podcast.
I'm not sure you're going to say it as well, Sam, are you?
My voice went like 30 seconds in. I got stage fright, I think.
Let's try it again, the other way round.
Hi, I'm Sam Proctor.
And I'm Sam Pictor.
And you're listening to the Oxygenaddict Podcast.
There you go, nailed it. So yeah, we've got both Sams on the podcast this week. It's going to be the Sam Slam, because there's in results quite often you see Sam Pictor and you see Sam Proctor. They're both called Sam. Their surnames both begin with P. They're pretty much the same surname, bar, you know, an O and an I and an R in a different place. So I figured that we'd get to know both Sams together. So first of all, Sam Pictor, how long have you known each other?
Weymouth, I think. It was probably Weymouth 2017 we first raced against each other.
Yes, yeah, that was correct. Yeah, September 2017.
Yeah, close race.
They always seem to be close with us too.
Yeah, there's not usually anyone in between. It's sort of one of us just pipping the other one. So I was lucky at, in Weymouth, so I nipped just ahead of you. But
luck, Sam, I'll give you that. And then it was Sardinia. We went next, wasn't it? We saw each other next.
Yeah, we did. That was a month later, pretty much. Yeah. And I think you just pipped me. So I'll give you that one.
Same.
But yeah, so about a year.
Yeah, 18 months. Yeah, just crossed paths.
And was it like, oh, hi Sam, I'm Sam?
It was quite weird, really, because I kept getting messages from my sister saying they got your name wrong on the results. And then my fiance Carly had the phone, and she was like, "Oh, it's they spelt your name wrong," and everyone was going up in arms. And then all of a sudden, my name came up, and then there's like, "There's two of you," and I was like, "Oh." It all just got a bit confusing. And then it wasn't until Sam finished, and because he was a bit behind me on the road, wasn't you? I think I finished third. I finished before you.
I got lost on the way to the swim start, so I was a bit late into the water.
Yeah, you sort of came together. You didn't finish much behind me, but you've beat me by whatever. But then it was, yeah, I finished first on the road, so it was all still a bit confusing.
I was trying to get my pro license then, and I remember looking at the field beforehand and seeing like the entry list, and I saw Sam Proctor on there, and I thought, oh, they've spelt my name wrong. And then I remember sort of doing a bit of research just a couple of weeks before the race and finding basically my alter ego on social media, it was very odd. So I sort of knew what was coming, but I was surprised that we were just so closely matched.
And Sam Proctor, what do you reckon is the best way to tell the difference between the two of you?
He's a lot taller. I'll be out the swim first. He'll be catching me on the bike, and then it's a bit of a run race normally. That's how we tend to sort of finish it off, isn't it? It's like how it seems to have been in every sort of race we've done so far, really. Whoever sort of has their better day on the run seems to get that. Yeah, he's a lot taller than me. That's that's how I would distinguish.
Sam, what do you reckon? Sam, I'm getting confused. Pictor, what do you think is the main way to tell the two of you apart?
I think that's a fair assessment. Proctor will be first out the water, that's for sure. I'm working on it, but I'm not sure I've quite closed the gap yet. Sometimes we see each other on the bike. I think it depends. We did in Weymouth this year, probably because they'd shortened the swim, so I had less of a gap to close. But yeah, it's usually crossing on the run at some point.
So, Pictor, what's your favourite discipline?
The run, definitely.
Proctor?
Favourite? Probably the swim or the run. Yeah, probably the swim.
Okay.
Getting stuck in.
The swim? That's my least favourite.
Yeah, it's a bit like in racing, swimming, but like training-wise, I suppose I like to go for a nice ride. I'd never just say, "Oh, let's go for a swim." That's like you do swim because you have to. But it's like, let's go for a social swim. No one ever says that, do they?
I do it open water or a lake. I'd love. Yeah. I'm a big fan of that. But yeah, no, I would. My swim miles would drop significantly if I wasn't training. That's for sure.
Swimming has to have structure for me. Do you know? It has to be. I can't just go to. There has to be that plan there. Otherwise, it just doesn't. Because otherwise, it's just going up and down, aren't you? And it's not really. That's not for me. Has to have that structure. But yeah, anyway, off subject.
No, it's fine. Okay, you can sort of like buzz in this time with your surname. Okay, so favourite training session?
Proctor. Oh, got you. Probably K-reps on the track.
Interesting.
Yeah, I do. Good track session.
That's my go-to.
Yeah,
I was going to say long run in many ways.
I do like the burn of the track. I do like that sort of. That gets me going. I do like that.
Pictor. With a good group, I'd be with you on that on the track. But probably for me, long run with a fast finish.
And Pictor, would you listen to on your long run? Would you be a sort of podcast kind of guy, or do you just go out there no headphones?
Nah, I've never run with headphones. I've started listening to a lot of podcasts, and I probably listened to every single Oxygenaddict podcast when I first discovered it. But that's mainly for the car and sometimes on the turbo as well. But never listen to anything on my run.
Just out there in nature.
Very much so. I don't feel. Yeah, I tried it and I didn't like it at all.
It's interesting how everyone's different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, red wine or cold beer?
Proctor. Red wine.
Picked a cold beer.
Really?
Yeah.
Can't beat a nice glass of red wine, Sam.
Yeah, but it's not got the same thirst quenching. Hey, I thought you'd be. What about Erdinger, Sam?
Yeah, that's like a that's a recovery drink. I wouldn't class that as a beer.
Oh yeah, okay.
Don't get me into trouble already.
Zwift or treadmill?
Pictor. Zwift. I've done a couple of treadmill sessions in my life, and they're the couple of most painful runs I've ever done in my life. So,
as in boredom or as in actual like?
Bit of both. I think the boredom adds to the physical pain. I did a couple when it was like awful snow last year, and it was good, but after like the third, I just can't do any more sessions on it. So
I can't get these people who just do like hours and hours, like long runs on treadmills. I think I'd give up triathlon if that was the training, because I just couldn't. It's not enjoyable. I don't find that enjoyable.
I do like the turbo. Like I'd do all my interval sessions on the turbo, unless it's long ride, long intervals. But
yeah.
I can never do steady unless it's horrendous outside and like dangerous. I can't do steady riding on the turbo.
If you got like a long ride, I'd rather do just a shorter turbo with intervals, just to replace the same sort of fatigue, maybe, rather than for the odd time that the weather's that bad. You know, I couldn't sit on there for 3-4 hours.
You literally go mental with that. Right, I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to let you guys. We're going to attempt this. I mean, it might go tits up, but hey, it's all. We can try these things.
I know until you try.
So I'm going to let you interview each other. The one question which I would like to start off with, Pictor, how did you get into triathlon? And Proctor, how did you get into triathlon? So we'll start off with Pictor, and then I'm going to let you interview. And I will be like moderator.
You can keep things under control. That was going to be my first question. So you've stolen my first question already. I did a bit of triathlon at university. Like I was interested in it, but I also played hockey, football, rock climbing, everything under the sun. So I never took it seriously. And then when I started working, I got a job in London, did the standard London thing, and worked for a finance company, and was just ended up running to and from work all the time and cycling to and from work. And then through that built, like when I was cycling, I was doing like 20 miles each way, because I found out that you get paid like 20 pence a mile or something. And through that just built like a really good base, and then entered some duathlons and went much better than I thought I would, sort of racing age group level. And it just sort of grew from there. And then I sort of slowly over the years added a bit more structure to my training, so it wasn't just going to and from work. And then picked up the swimming, and it just grew and grew and grew and got a bit more serious and a bit more serious each season until here we are.
When was that? When did you start?
That was, I moved to London in 2012, end of 2012. So I started probably training consistently in 2013, 14, and then probably raced my first triathlons. I mean, what year was Weymouth? 17? Probably about 2016, I reckon.
Not long.
Yeah, not long. But then I've always run and I've always cycled. Actually, how I got into cycling, I bought a bike off my cousin in Switzerland and cycled home, and that just like lit the desire for cycling.
Home from Switzerland.
Yeah, that's
just normal.
Well, I think if I wasn't doing triathlon, I'd be doing like those long sort of cycle across Europe. My brother's just set off to cycle around the world. Anyway, drop that in there.
You're boring us all now.
How about you, Sam?
I started in 2011. I got into triathlon through my dad, I suppose. He's always done triathlon since we were born. He was like since 1989, I think he'd been doing triathlon. But I didn't really go down that route. I was a sailor, did sailing as a teenager in my early 20s.
What boats?
Skiff sailing.
Nice.
Like high performance skiffs. Did a lot of that around Europe. And then in 2011, sort of the guy I sailed with got married and sort of sold the boat. Dad said, "Oh, need something to do. Why don't you try triathlon?" Borrowed one of his bikes and just sort of did my first triathlon in June 2011 and sort of got hooked from there really, and just sort of threw myself into it after that and haven't really looked back. Didn't really have any other background, just progressed from there really. That was sort of didn't do anything at school or anything, so just.
What was the first triathlon? How did it go?
Fritton Lake that's up in Norfolk. It's Olympic distance. My dad done it, so that was like my ambition was to like not get beat by Dad. I can't remember the outcome, but I think it was close. I think I did it in about 2 hours 50. I think I know the run took me an hour.
Okay,
it was awful because you just didn't know anything about triathlon pacing or I just went out like it was just one of those things, and then I went back, and then every year I sort of for the next few years I went back to that triathlon to sort of use it as a gauge, like to see the improvements, that sort of thing. I like that sort of thing, to see the improvements, keep me motivated. So. Yeah.
So it was a few years before you started racing like regularly and doing the sort of Ironman and.
Yeah, so that was like in 2011, and then I carried on racing like every year, just like local Olympic distance races. I think my first Ironman branded event was Wimbledon 70.3 in 2015.
Oh yeah.
I did the 2013 age group world champs at Hyde Park. Nice. Got that signed off.
How did that go?
Yeah, it was okay. I got like a roll down place. I didn't win more than on merit. I got a roll down, but yeah, it was great to sort of in that part of my career. It was great to sort of be racing around the streets of London in the GB kit. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. It was something at the time that was important to me. So yeah, nice. And then I did Zeelandse Worlds as well, 70.3 Worlds in 2015 as well. So I sort of ticked off those things, and then going professional was the next step, I think. And that's
sort of sat back and thought, what's next? What's the next goal?
Yeah, sort of got a coach and sort of took it a bit more seriously rather than just sort of smashing myself. I just didn't really, it's like when you first sort of get into it, you just you go and run fast, go and swim fast, go and bike fast, and just then someone introduces an interval to you. You're like, what's that? Don't I have to do that for an hour anyway?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, looking back when I was running to and from work, I just try and, or certainly on the bike, like I'd have my little speedometer thing, like bike computer, not GPS.
Yeah.
And you just start off at 20 miles an hour and then try and hold that average for as long as you can.
If someone said that to you now, you'd be like,
hello?
How did I do that?
I used to go out the door and try and run. I used to try and run a loop. I was in the Isle of Dogs, and you could run around the Isle of Dogs. It was 10 miles. I used to try and do it, bang up like 59, try and like hold. Just like start the Garmin straight into 6 minute miles.
We never like now, unless like now it's more like you train rather than training in one zone all the time. You either train below it or above it. Like I found, I don't know if you, but I found when I got sort of progressed, it was more now. You always trained like say 6 minute mile, and always trained at that pace, but never went below it, but never went above it.
And
that was the big difference for me. I'm going to ask you a question now. I think I'm going to stick with, because you mentioned it about your brother, so it was on one of my questions. Where in the world is your brother now? That's seems an absolute killer of a journey.
Yeah.
Have you got any ambitions to sort of go long, do something like that?
Well, he only set off beginning of March, so he got caught in Storm Gareth and then turned up sort of soaking wet in Bristol, having set off from North Wales. So he's in South.
What he's doing first?
Okay, so he's cycling around the world. I think he's given himself a year and a half. So he's not in a rush. He's not putting it on Strava. He's not got Instagram. He's just going. he's just got WhatsApp, and he's just going he's going to cycle around the world, sort of going east through Mongolia, China, and then up down through Asia, and then up South America, North America. So the sort of thing I'd love to do. But yeah, he's just south of Germany at the moment, on his way. We've got quite a bit of family in Germany, so he's been hopping in between them before he properly.
Is he cycling every day, or is he just sort of taking it?
Yeah, he's going every day. He's set himself, I think, 40 or 50 miles a day on average, sort of every day. He'll have a few days here and there, but I thought that sounded quite easy, and then I saw his bike, and it was so heavy.
You try and pick it up.
So it's a different sort of journey, but I'd love to do that one day. I've got the way I do. I'm more into I did Land's End John O'Groats in 4 days, and I think if I was to try and do something like that, I'd try and cycle to South Africa and try and set a record or something. I don't know.
Is that something that excites you rather than triathlon, or is it just triathlon is the thing?
Triathlon's the thing at the moment. I'm enjoying that performance side of it, where you've got to really, there's not that much room for error.
Yeah.
I think when I don't do triathlon, post triathlon, I think I'll do ultra running.
Yeah.
Just because that's just a big adventure, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, stuff like that, I think, and I think that's sort of what drew me to triathlon, as opposed to just racing 1500 meters or 10k on the road. Is just you get to race over all the different sort of terrains and scenery, and you get to do 3 sports. So yeah. Oh, good. I think so.
Well, wish him best of luck from me.
Yeah, thanks. I'll send it on. I was going to ask, when you first started training, what's the thing that makes you cringe, and how, I get you sort of answered it already, and how has your training really evolved over time?
It makes me cringe.
Yeah, what?
Calf guards.
Back.
People in calf guards. No. Looking back, it was just the way I used to train, I suppose. It was literally just. I'd go to the pool and I'd just go as hard as I could for as many laps as I could, or like you, I'd have a loop. There's a 10k loop at home when I lived at home, and it was just let's see how quickly I can get around that today, and that was sort of the training. Going out for long runs, always no matter on the terrain, it was I had to reach that pace. It was that set pace. It was never an actual. There was no science or anything involved. And I just look back now and I think, how did I not get injured?
Yeah. So what's your background, Sam? You a swimmer? Did you start all fresh in 2011 or? Yeah,
fresh in 2011, really. Yeah, I didn't do anything before. Let's say I did sailing, but that wasn't really fitness based. That was more technique. Anything that. But then I never had to keep fit to do that. That was quite a social thing. But I wasn't very fit when I came into the
okay.
Sport. So no, I didn't have a background of sport. No.
How old are you now?
29.
29. Okay, so that's.
So what? 8 years it'll be in June.
Yeah.
8 years. Yeah.
That's pretty good from no base to sort of going in.
It's just that I think it's just consistency and touch wood, I've never had any long-term problems or I've been out with anything. It just ticks on. I think I would have done if I had not stopped doing what I was doing when I did, but not training-wise. But I think
as you increase the volume, you probably would have picked up sort of
exactly
sorts of issues.
So, I'm going to put a little bit of a jokey one in there. What's more important, the wife or the dog?
Obviously the wife.
I know you being a gentleman, you'd say that.
The dog is a joint venture. She's going to be a good running partner for both of us when she's of age. About 7 months now. So
how's she settling in? How's it?
She's good. When we first got her, I thought, this is an absolute killer for training because she didn't sleep through the night. I'd sort of be going swimming off like 3 or 4 hours sleep, but I think it's just like having a baby.
Yeah.
I'm sure people will correct me on that one, but it feels like it.
Oh, well, you got the right answer there then. But yeah, you got the right answer.
Thanks, mate. So you've gone. Obviously, you were working and doing all of that. What's your sort of situation now? You've got your professional license. Congratulations. So you're racing as a pro this year. But does that mean you're making a living from triathlon? You're not working anymore, or?
So I do some coaching. So I don't work on the building side anymore.
Okay.
So last year I went down to 3 days a week, and then once I got the license, Carly and I decided that we'd give it a go. Like racing professionally, we found it very hard. Just if I've got to do it, I'll do it, not do it.
Yeah.
I wanted to give it a go. So from January, I went down. I quit working on the building site, and that's the goal. Is to try and make a living out of triathlon. That's the goal. It's a bit hard these first few months because you're not really racing and you're not. It's just training, isn't it? Like you're not getting those rewards. So I'm excited to get racing and excited to get going and see the winter improvements. Now we've got more recovery time, had more training time. Yeah, that's where we're at the minute, I suppose. Yeah, trying to make a living out of it. I'm not yet, but trying.
Yeah, good man. Because I certainly found from sort of Christmas up to now, there's been a couple of times where you're just training and you're not racing, and you start to question. Well, I do anyway. There's moments where you question, like you're putting all this time into it, and you're obviously not seeing any return in results because you don't get to race. Have you had that? How do you deal with that? I just really want it, so I'm gonna just feel like I love the sport and I love racing, and if I can make a living out of that, then I think if you just give it time and you put the work in it, it will work. You just got to be a bit patient. I had a couple of training camps and I did a half marathon. I haven't really stopped in a way, so it's nice to see the progression and see the numbers increase, and so that just gives me the motivation. That keeps me going. Yeah. And the half marathon's a good indicator as to the season. How did you go on the half marathon?
Not as quick as you, but your course must have been quicker, I think.
I think it was wind behind the whole way for us.
But no, it was good. I was happy with it from coming straight off of a camp and onto it. It was I was happy, yeah. I think it's never been, for me, it's never been the standalone, sort of being honest, it's never been the standalone run speed. It's being able to execute that off the bike.
Yeah.
I never thought it was I can't run off the bike. I just didn't think I was conditioned enough, just because I didn't have the time to do the bike miles with working and stuff. So talking to Mark now, we certainly feel that that's improved. I'm more conditioned now that I should be able to execute that run off the bike. So that's sort of where I'm at. Same for you. What is yours the same goal? Are you training full time now? What are you doing?
Good question. I think my goal changes all the time. I think that's probably quite. I've noticed that difference between us. You seem to. I feel like you've been quite switched onto it as to what you're aiming for and how you're going to get there. And I feel like I thought getting my pro license was my end goal.
Yeah.
In itself. And then when I got that, I realised that wasn't. That actually I wasn't satisfied with that. So it's then been. It was then to podium at a 70.3. We both managed to do that in Weymouth last year. So now I think I don't think it's as simple as saying, I want to win one. I think it's now similar to you. Like I want to keep progressing, and
that's got to be the drive, isn't it? Is to win races.
Exactly. And like I qualified fortunately at Weymouth for the world champs in Nice, the 70.3 world champs. But that's probably not actually as much of a motivating factor as the 10 or so, however many races beforehand. I want to win races, and I want to be able to keep improving. And I think the best way to do that is by doing triathlon full time, and trying to make a living from it. I think pretty similar to you through sponsorships and prize money. In September I cut my working hours down, so I'm working 3 days a week now.
Yeah.
But I am very lucky. I get to work from home now, so I'm able to squeeze a session in at lunch and then make up the hours sort of at the end of the day.
As long as you sort of get the computer time in, you're okay. Sort of.
Yeah, as long as I get the work done, exactly. So like my employer is is very understanding, and that really helps. But I do notice it because I'm often like working Thursday as well to catch up on where I haven't managed to get stuff done before, like hand in the week. So it would be, I think I didn't realise that before, but it does make such a difference, doesn't it, if you've got that extra time in the week.
It's not really a question, it's more of a statement, but where does the day go? I don't sometimes it's like I wake up and I go, I'll do a session, and then you have lunch, you have something to do a session, you coming home and going, what have you done today? And I'm like,
I don't know.
I've done something. I have done something, honest. I'm just sitting there all day.
So I call Thursday and Friday my pro days.
Yeah.
And so I've managed to like put my bigger training block, like my bigger training sessions in there. But it is just like, especially like Thursday, I'm swimming at 6 o'clock in the morning. So my swim session's done by like 8 o'clock, and the day still disappears.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember thinking like professional athletes that you just get to sit around all day, but you don't really have time.
I was less busy when I went to work.
I'm going to chip in now. Do you, we'll start off, Proctor, with you. Do you find that having Sam, like knowing that he's at a similar level and a similar place to you on that progression, do you find it quite helpful, or would you say you're pretty competitive against each other? Yeah,
well, I wouldn't say we're not competitive. Like I want to beat, whether it's Sam or anyone, I want to beat everyone. But I think it's good to have that person there as well, going through it as well, because we are sort of on the same journey, similar to, I think we're on different journeys, but at the same time on the same journey, if you know what I mean. We're riding the same train maybe, but we've got different stops, if you know what I mean.
One's East Coast, one's West Coast maybe. One might have more delays than the other along the way.
It's great to have that. I'm very competitive, but I'm also, Sam's a good friend, and I think it's nice to have that sort of gauge there, and sort of think, oh, Sam done this, that was a good idea. It's good to have, because we're both learning along the way. We're not just, we're not going to get it right first time. We are going to make mistakes. We are going to balls things up. So, and sometimes it's nice to have that person on that journey to sort of talk to, relate to. Oh, what did you do? How did I do that? Because some of the more seasoned pros might not have been through that and might not be able to relate. But somebody who's going through the same journey at the same time can relate to that. I think that's good to fall back to.
And Pictor, do you see someone like Joe Skipper as quite a role model in that, in a way, he's done similar and progressed in that sense?
Yeah, that gives me heart when I come out of the swim, sort of 4 minutes behind these guys. No, it does, and there's a few guys like that just have either transformed their swim or are transforming their swim and are making it as fully fledged professionals. I do look to that. I remember quizzing Proctor on his swim and realising that he's only actually been swimming for 6 or 7 years, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm realising that actually it's not necessarily you make the assumption that everyone that's a decent swimmer has been swimming since they were 2, but it is actually possible to get some decent swim splits. eventually. But yeah, no, I do. I'll look at people like Joe Skipper, and there's a few others there as well that are doing similar things.
Sam, we're going to bring it to an end there. But honestly, you guys did a great job.
Thank you. Hope it wasn't too waffly.
No. You did a really, really good job. And I think I know now a little bit more about Sam Pictor and Sam Proctor. Hopefully you do too. So no, it's been brilliant. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you, Helen.
Awesome stuff. Hel's two massive talents for the future going forwards there. And again, I'm super impressed with Sam Proctor going 8:14 on debut. That's even on a fast course. That's amazing.
Thanks, isn't it?
Awesome. So, news this week, sponsored by precisionhydration.com. Remember, you can get yourself a free tube or packet of Precision Hydration worth up to $9.99 using the code Oxygenaddict. You can take their online sweat test to see if you're a particularly salty or heavy sweater. These guys make the best electrolyte supplements out there. They're in different strengths to match how you sweat. So if you're super salty like me, you take the 1500s. If you're sweating tons in the heat, you take the 1500s as well. Go on there and get yourself a sweat test done. It'll take you a few minutes online, and then you can start getting your electrolytes sorted. All right, so the news this week, Hels, is triathletes racing at the London Marathon, isn't it?
Yeah, we're just going to go through a couple of them who we've had on the show before, or you will recognise them. So Andy Greenleaf did 2:24:34. Great
stuff, yeah.
Reece Barkley 2:34.
Wow, that's a good result for him, isn't it?
Yeah. Joe Spraggins, amazing, in his Speedos and a flat cap, 2:39.
Sneaks under 2:40. Good lad.
Yeah, brilliant. Hal Davis as well, we've had on the show.
Yeah.
2:50. I think he was pacing yesterday, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And then Chrissy Wellington did 2:52:08. Amazing.
Solid, yeah.
As part of her training for Comrades this year. Ali Rowett we've had on as well, 2:54:57.
Solid.
And then I was going to mention as well, Lucy Charles Barkley was racing, but she didn't finish. I think she said something like a stomach bug came back to bite her. So unfortunately she didn't finish.
Shame.
Pulled a pin at 21k, but come on, bigger picture. Sensible
Absolutely.
Move.
Yeah, it's a long way to Kona, baby. Yeah. All right, we're going to have to wrap up this week's show here. So thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray.
And you've been listening to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. Have a great, safe training and racing week, everybody. Get out and enjoy the sunshine, and we will speak to you again next week. Cheers, everybody. Bye now.